What's up, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock. And indeed, I wanted to apologize to Ryan and Jimmy and all the other punk rock fans out there. I know I've been doing fewer punk rock reactions lately. I'm just trying to get so many different band reactions going. So bottom line, I have not forgotten. I will try to get back on a more regular schedule. And in fact, Ryan had a request recently, and the request that Ryan had was for Victory Lap, the album, and the tune is Caught Just Out of Frame. Which is funny, if you know Propagandhi's larger body of work, you would think that this is maybe a song critical of sort of like overly overbearing and unnecessarily violent law enforcement. It might be a critique of, you know, the presentation of a certain scene or image with the idea that someone or something is just out of frame, perhaps like encouraging something to be represented in a certain way. But that's not what this is about. This is about I think the theme can be generalized, and indeed I think the theme is generalized and sort of taken to a broader, more universally applicable level. But the origin or the basis of the tune is the Buddhist monk who burned himself in protest of the South Vietnamese government, the Diem government. I don't know how to correctly pronounce his name. In English it looks like Quang Duc. Again, I doubt that's actually how it's pronounced, but yeah, I believe he was in like his late 60s. He was not like a young man, and he was part of this large procession, and they were protesting the Diem government's crackdown on Buddhist and Buddhism, and it's often referred to in this sort of phase of Indo-Chinese or Vietnamese history as the Buddhist crisis. But they were going to like a government building. I don't know if it was an embassy or if it was actually the sort of like presidential like compound. But a procession of like something like 350 Buddhist monks were marching, and they gathered around this building, and I think there was like different younger monks offered to serve the purpose that Quang Duc eventually did, but apparently his seniority prevailed, and he basically said, no, I'm going to do this. And he basically sat down, and his last words were to implore the Diem government to live up to its promise of religious tolerance for all different religions and for different people. And then he proceeded to pour gasoline on himself and light himself on fire. And some of the monks, didn't know this was going to happen. Like, there were some monks who were like generally shocked. There were lots of like normal citizens around who were like suddenly very shocked. Reports of journalists who were there, because journalists who were covering what was happening in North and South Vietnam, like in South Vietnam, but covering again the Indochina War, which is already like the second or third phase of it. They had been told that there was going to be a procession and a protest, so there were a lot of journalists there, and that's why you have the images that are captured. Rage Against the Machine used one of the images for their first album cover. But apparently a lot of people were sort of stunned and like shocked into silence. Some people began wailing and crying. Now apparently the monk himself was, basically did not react at all and like made neither a sound nor really moved, which is, sort of haunting in itself. But bottom line, there were some police who had been assigned to control the crowd and to not let, the monks, if they tried to like get inside the presidential building, they were there to like control and potentially, stop the protest. They were there to like resist the procession and their goal of sort of disrupting or making the government acknowledge them. But several of the police officers who saw this were sort of so struck by the like ultimate level of personal sacrifice, the ability or the willingness to go through a brutal and painful death to draw like stark attention to the plight of the people of which he was representative. There were several police officers who, like other citizens, were so stunned by what they just saw that they sort of like went down and like prostrated themselves in sort of like, an emotional tribute to what this man had done. And so Chris, I think, by using this as a framework, is basically saying that a lot of us we talk about wanting to change things. We talk about wanting to, or being willing to take on burden or sacrifice, or to, demonstrate the very highest levels of personal sacrifice if it'll mean good and rights and liberties for a much larger group of people. But at the end of the day, we're all cops out of frame. We're all the people who couldn't actually do it, who don't know anything really about that level of sacrifice, however noble it may seem to us from our sort of ignorant vantage point. So it's a song that I think is imploring people, especially those who have punk rock values and ethos and so on, to sort of live up to those values and to try to articulate them, and to not be always the cop out of frame who is impressed by what someone else has done, but who actually didn't have the courage or the wherewithal to do it themselves. So that's where I take the song. Let me know if you have a different view. But let's get to it. Punk rock videos, I always do talk for way too long at the beginning. But this is Propagandhi, Caught Just Out of Frame, from the 2017 album Victory Lap.
If I thought it would help, I would elevate myself. Inform you of the camera crews, the counterfeit, but it's real low. The only tale with the tone would be that it was me, not them, who was insane.
That might be true, though.
But who the fuck do I think I am? And throw it as if I know the first thing is sacrifice or selflessness. I'm a conscious down frame. With the first sight of the flames, frozen some plastic junior crowd in reverence. Our necks so pure, we yearn to feel the burn.
I don't know this album as well as a lot of the others. I sort of remember this song, but not the sequencing as much.
Survive the flames unscarred. A righteous calling card left upon the palace gates. For the invertebrates that greeted by power by the fire. But just one frail human being, no weapon, no war machine.
I'll wait till the end, but unbelievable. I honestly didn't remember the sonic sequencing of that one nearly as much as I thought I did. But yeah, bottom line, what I was thinking at the end is that last section where it sort of goes into a sequence of changing tempos and instrumental sections. It reminds me of a long instrumental section in an Iron Maiden song. Obviously it's more hardcore punk rock, melodic hardcore, so it has a slightly different flavor. But the way they kept changing tempos and different sort of instrumental jams in that last section, it reminded me of the instrumental skill and versatility of a long Iron Maiden instrumental section. So that's pretty high praise for someone who does enjoy that aspect of that other band. But seriously, a really fantastic tune. And as I said, this album, it's more recent than the others. I've listened to it multiple times. I saw them on tour for this album. Fantastic. Shout out to my friend Tim who went with me. But yeah, bottom line, I just don't know it nearly as well as the earlier albums, so this will surely not be the last time it happens. But do let me know what you think of the tune. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.